everybody, welcome back for another video. So today I am coming at you with a tag video. I am going through what we like to call a reading slump. I have been really busy. We've gone on like a really exhausting road trip in the last week. We've switched the kids to a new school. So I've got a lot going on in my personal life and good things, fun things, but still very distracting. But more than anything, I finished a huge book series last week. And it was like a mountaintop experience, and I have not been able to come down off of it. I've tried to start several books, all books that I know I'm going to like, but I'm just having a hard time getting into anything. So today I had the whole day to myself, and instead of picking up another book or trying to force something that, like I said, I know I'm going to enjoy it, but there's no sense in forcing it while you're not enjoying it, right? Instead of frustrating myself with more books, I decided to go through my BookTube backlog. And I got lots of ideas for fun, cool videos, but this one jumped out at me and I wanted to do it first. And I think it's called like 1 through 10 or something like that. But it is just a nice little list of prompts put together by, I'm actually not sure who the originator is. But I saw Red Fury Books do it first, and then I kind of followed the links, followed the tags back, because that's the fun of tag videos, right? I watched Bookish Chaz do his. I'm going to leave those links below so you can check out their videos too. But I just love the idea of these prompts that are kind of off the wall that make you think about books that you may not talk about all the time. So the only rule I really applied for my list to myself is that I wanted to talk about books that aren't going to be in necessarily my top 10 this year. It's so easy to go straight for the books that are right in the forefront of your mind because you're excited about them and you read them recently and they're good. But I mean, we have end of the year content coming up soon. You guys are going to hear me talk about these books quite a bit over the next couple of months. So I wanted to reach back to older favorites, past years, stuff like that. So I'm just trying to pick things that aren't going to end up on my top 10 for 2022 because you guys are going to hear all about those books a lot over the next couple of weeks. So here we go with the 1 through 10 tag video. So for what it's worth, I was not tagged in this video. If I'm being honest, I'm never really tagged in tag videos, but I help myself, I invite myself to the party, and I just do them anyway. So here we go. Basically, it is a list of prompts that involve the numbers 1 through 10. You look into your library or to your repertoire of what you've read, and you come up with an answer that matches it. And I think this is a fun one because it really made me pull from my backlog of stuff that I'm like, ooh, I've been meaning to read that. Or I read that a couple years ago and I loved it so much. So here we go. The first question is, talk about a book 1 from a series. And I'm going to talk about a book I haven't read yet. But it is a book 1 that I have planned for December that I'm very excited for. So that's why I'm talking about it, is because it's probably the most anticipated book 1 I have coming up. And that is Kings of Paradise by Richard Nell. This is a book that I don't know much about other than the fact that it is a fantasy book. Richard Nell seems like a really cool author, but the biggest standout to me is that everyone I know who has read this trilogy loves it. Book 1, solid. Again, this is the reputation I'm going off of. I have not read this book. I have not read anything from Richard Nell. But apparently, book 1 is solid. But books 2 and 3 are like amazing. I don't know if I'm going to read them all in December, but I do have plans to start this in December. And I'm very excited for this book 1. So the next question for the number 2 is, show us a book that you have 2 or more copies of. Now, I'm insane, so I have several books that I could have used for this prompt, but I went ahead and chose something that is also book 2 of a trilogy, so it's like double points, right? I got The Trouble with Peace by Joe Abercrombie. And now the reason I have 2 copies of this is because I pre-ordered this beautiful EU edition because I wanted to revamp my collection and replace them all with these EU editions because they're really gorgeous. Like, I prefer the cover and they're just very nice inside. And then like I said, I pre-ordered this one and I got it signed by Joe Abercrombie. Like, I'm not letting this one go. But I was never able to find, and again, I haven't like aggressively looked for it, but out in the wild, I've never been able to find the EU edition for book number 1. And then when book 3 came out, I also got these US editions. So I have the whole trilogy, the whole set in hardcover in these US editions, and they're not bad. They're not ugly even. I like them. I just prefer these EU ones. But because of whatever, I've only ever purchased book 2, but I'm not going to get rid of it because it's signed and I like it better. So I have all 3 books in this version, but only The Trouble with Peace in the EU edition. So I'm not going to get rid of it, but I also don't really have the shelf space to justify getting the whole trilogy in both editions right now. So I don't know. Right now I just randomly have this extra additional copy of book 2 of The Trouble with Peace. For question 3, they ask, what is a book that has 3 colors on the cover? And I always act like I'm playing Scrabble, like I'm trying to get double points. So not only did I pick something that has 3 colors, like red, black, and metallic is what we're working with here, but I picked a trilogy that is known for 3 colors. You know, it's a red book, a yellow book, and a blue book, but each one carries through with only 3 colors, doing metallic, black, and then its identifying color. So this is the Red Rising saga, and I honestly don't know if we're supposed to consider this like a 6-book series or if it's 2 back-to-back trilogies that like go together. But right here is the original trilogy, and it's Red Rising, Morning Star, and Golden Sun. And I don't know if everyone has read these, but if you haven't, you definitely should. These are sci-fi books that I really, really like. I have not read the first 2 books in the second trilogy yet. They're called Iron Gold and Dark Age. I'm kind of saving those because those final books are coming, you know, next year, and I really want to like read those with buddies and kind of have everything fresh in my head. I might do a full series reread. I might just kind of refresh myself on some spoilers and, you know, start with Iron Gold next year. But if you haven't checked these out already, absolutely do. But yeah, this is a series that I immediately thought of when I said 3 colors. I thought, well, you can look at that different ways because there's 3 colors with red, blue, and yellow, but there's also 3 colors on each cover. So that is my answer for number 3, 3 colors. For number 4, the question is a book that has 4 or more perspectives or POVs. And I love when books have multiple POVs. And so I really could have picked from, again, several things that I really love and I'm really impressed with. But I went with somebody that I think does it so well. And that is John Gwynne with Faithful and the Fallen. So this is book 1, Malice. It's a 4-book series. And I absolutely love how he does the POVs and the character perspectives in this series. It's kind of like George R.R. Martin in A Song of Ice and Fire, where, you know, you get a Camlin chapter, and then you'll get a Corbin chapter, and then you'll get a Kywin chapter. So I really like that they are character-specific chapters. But one thing I also love is they're very short chapters. So you're going to pick up any given John Gwynne book, and there's like 109 chapters. Don't freak out. They're small, they're quick, they're snappy, they're well-paced, they're action-packed. That's how these books go, and that's kind of what they're known for. But I also love that they are character-specific chapters, and there are definitely 4 or more POVs. For number 5, the question is a 5-star read. And the very first book that popped in my brain is a book I'm planning to reread next month, and I'm so excited. It is one of my favorite books of all times. It is the ultimate 5-star book, and that is A Storm of Swords by George R.R. Martin. I don't really know what else to say about this, guys. If you haven't read A Song of Ice and Fire, get over it. Go get the books and read them immediately. They are that good. I love them all. A Game of Thrones, which is book 1, is probably my favorite book of all time, but I rate A Storm of Swords a little bit higher. Like, I'm weird, don't ask. But as soon as I saw the question, the first thing that popped in my mind for a 5-star book was definitely A Storm of Swords. Question number 6 is 6 or more short stories. And so I actually love short story collections. Do you? I know that they kind of don't scratch the itch for a lot of people because they just are left wanting more. And I get that, but sometimes it's very refreshing to read something short. So my first instinct was Trigger Warning by Neil Gaiman, but that's one of Chaz's picks. Sorry for the spoiler, but I didn't want to recycle a pick that he had, even though that's a great option. Like I said, it was the first thing that popped in my mind. Stephen King also has some really, really good short story collections. Different Seasons is a favorite, but I went with what I'm reading right now. I mentioned that I'm kind of in a reading slump, and so I'm partially through several books, but picking up a collection of short stories is something I love to do during a reading slump because you do feel like you've accomplished something. You know, if it's 40 pages, you can just sit down and read it in one setting. So H.P. Lovecraft is known for short stories because that's what he did. Way back in the day, when you were writing horror or sci-fi or weird tales, they were submitted to magazines, and they were published in magazines. So these are all going to be short stories, and I mean, he is the GOAT for a reason. This is going to be as creepy and twisted and dark and weird as it gets. So definitely check this out if you're into that kind of thing. Lovecraft's terrifying stories have clearly influenced generations of sci-fi and horror writers. And so if you're into, you know, the weird cosmic what ifs, what's out there, mind game stuff, like, you're going to love H.P. Lovecraft. And it is convenient because you can just pick them up every now and then and weave them in because they're all short stories. Number 7 was tricky for me because it just says the number 7 on the cover or the spine. So my mind initially went to a book 7 from a series, but I decided to go with this one because 7 is literally in the title. So of course it's both on the spine and the cover, and that is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This is a book I haven't read, but I've kept it on my shelf for a while, and about once a month I pull it out and go, maybe I should read that. Because everyone I know who has read it really liked it, and I've had it recommended to me specifically several times. I think this will be one that I just pick up the next time I'm in the mood for something different, something that's not fantasy or sci-fi or horror. This will probably be where I go next. I haven't been in the mood for something regular in a while, but I've heard really good things about it, and I had to pick it for this one because 7 is all over the cover. For number 8, this one's kind of fun. It just says 8 letters in the title. So I took that as 8 letters only, not 8 letters or more, because that's like kind of a cop-out, right? So I picked what I think is kind of a fun one. I picked Turncoat by Jim Butcher. And I'm going to show you guys something that probably most of you know, but maybe someone doesn't. If you look at all the Dresden Files titles, they all have 2 words, and they both have the same amount of letters. So this one's Turncoat, so it's 2 4-letter words. The only exception to this rule as far as I remember, is changes, which is 1 word, but everything changes after changes, so it really makes sense. So go look through your Dresden Files collection if you don't believe me. Every single title is 2 words that have the exact same amount of letters. So Turncoat is my 8-letter title. You guys are not going to believe me for this one. So number 9 was a book that ends on a page that has the number 9. Very random, right? I thought I'm going to go to my shelf and I'm just going to be pulling off books over and over and over again until I find one that randomly has the number 9 in the final page. Wouldn't you know it, the very first book I pulled off of my shelf is The Martian by Andy Weir, and I went straight to it because I've been thinking recently about how much I enjoyed this book and also Project Hail Mary and how I want to read more books like this. So if you have any suggestions, let me know. But I was thinking about it, so for some reason I went straight to it, I pulled it off, and wouldn't you know, the final page of the book, and I'm not going towards like all this extra stuff in the back, the final page of the actual story is 369. And if you've read this book already, go pull it off your shelf again and read that last line. It made my heart smile. This is a great book, and I'm just like, how random is that the very first one I pulled off the shelf happened to have the number 9 in it. So great book, lucky coincidence, number 9. Like I said earlier, I don't know who created this tag. I'm going to try to find out. I like to give credit where credit is due. But whoever it was, I know it was made by a fantasy reader because number 10, the question is a series with 10 books. What other genre has 10-book series? So anyway, I couldn't think of a good answer for this. I mean, I've got a lot of trilogies, some quartets, several 7-book series, and of course I have series that have more than that, like Realm of the Elderlings is 16, Wheel of Time is 15, and the only series I could think of that's 10 books, which I'm sure you're going to come at me in the comments, I'm sure there's going to be more that I'm just, not thinking of, but the only thing I could think of that is 10 books, and it's known for being 10 big books, that is Malazan Book of the Fallen. I no longer own those books because after I decided to DNF the series, I did sell my Malazan collection, so I don't have the books anymore. But Malazan is my answer for 10 books because I can't think of any other 10-book series. So, guys, that's the list. I think that was fun. It really got me thinking out of the box. Got me thinking about books that I love and enjoy but haven't thought of or read for a while. So if you want to do this, consider yourself tagged. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, no one ever tags me in videos. But then again, I don't really tag other people in videos, so maybe I should tag someone in this video. I thought that was a really fun video. Thank you so much for clicking and for always being supportive of my channel, even though most of the time it's just fun little list videos and wrap-ups. You guys make me happy. Making these videos makes me happy. So thank you so much for always clicking and being supportive and hanging around. You guys have a great day.